Hello, fourth graders. This week you'll be taking a big rig tour of the Southwest. A question you'll be able to answer after watching this tour is, how have geography and history shaped life in the Southwest? So looking at the map here, the Southwest is found right down here with the Gulf of Mexico on its border, as well as Mexico. It also borders the West and the Midwest regions. The places we will be visiting can be found on page 151 in your textbook. The dots on the map show places you will visit on the tour of the Southwest. All of the places in this collage are in the Southwest. This is on page 150 in your textbook. In this section, we will map features of the Southwest, and we will take the big rig tour with our guide, Mr. Nakai. Here are the key social studies terms that you will learn during our tour: mesa, desert, adapt, aqueduct, dam, canyon, cave, cavern, border, mission, rebellion, and capital. We're going to skip ahead to our tour. You will be filling out a map in your social studies workbook found on page 84 as we move from site to site on our tour. Remember to label each site and to draw a symbol that represents something that you have learned. So we will be beginning, whoops, I missed the introduction. On page 151, listening to our tour guide of our introduction.
Welcome to the Southwest. My name is Mr. Nakai. I will be your guide to this region. Let me tell you a little about myself. I am an American Indian from the Navajo tribe. Until I retired last year, I was a truck driver. I drove my big rig, that's what truckers call their trucks, all over the Southwest. I know this region like the back of my hand. When I was asked to lead this tour, I thought about how I could make it really special. Then it hit me. I'm a trucker. Why not take you on a truck tour? My big rig holds only 3 people, but some of my trucking buddies offered to help out. Together, we rounded up enough trucks to take your whole class. The view from high up in a big rig can't be beat. So pick a truck, buckle your seatbelt, and let's go.
All right, you'll need to skip ahead to page 154 and follow along as we learn about Monument Valley, home of the Navajos.
Let's begin our tour where I live. This is Monument Valley. It is part of the Navajo Indian Reservation. This is the largest reservation in the United States. The Southwest is home to a large number of American Indians, more than any other region of the country. Many American Indians live and work on reservations. Others live in towns and cities. I was born and raised in Monument Valley. To me, this is the most beautiful place on earth. Movie makers also love this valley for its setting. Many Western movies and television commercials are filmed here. Look closely at this landscape. Do you see those flat-topped hills? They are called mesas. Notice how bare the mesas are. Not enough rain falls in Monument Valley for forests to grow. Much of the Southwest is desert. A desert gets less than 10 inches of rain a year. Over time, plants, animals, and people have all adapted to living in this dry land. To adapt means to change to survive. The Navajos, for example, learned how to grow corn and raise sheep, even with little rainfall. As we move on, look for other ways that people have adapted to living in the desert.
All right, so it is time to put Monument Valley on your map, drawing a picture to help you remember what you learned at our first site in our tour. Our next stop is Phoenix, Arizona, known as America's hottest city. This is page 155.
This is Phoenix, Arizona, America's hottest large city. During July, temperatures here can soar to 121 degrees Fahrenheit. 100 years ago, Phoenix was a small town. Not many people wanted to move to Arizona in those days. Folks said that it was too hot, dry, and lonely here. What I call the 3 A's changed their minds. The first A was air conditioners. These machines use electricity to cool the air in a room. Air conditioning allows people to live in comfort no matter how hot the day is. The second A was aqueducts. An aqueduct is a large pipe or canal that moves water over a long distance. Aqueducts are used in the Southwest to move water from lakes and rivers to farms and cities. Aqueducts make it possible to have green lawns in Phoenix. The third A was automobiles. Travel in the Southwest used to be hard and even dangerous. A traveler stuck in the desert could die of thirst. Cars, along with good roads, made travel safer and easier. People began to come to the Phoenix area as tourists. Some liked the hot, dry weather so much that they came back here to live. Since 1940, Phoenix has grown at an amazing rate.
It is time to label Phoenix, Arizona on your map along with a symbol. Remember, you can always pause the video and then come back as soon as you are ready. Okay, our next stop is Hoover Dam, known as a concrete marvel, page 156.
You are looking at one of America's greatest manufactured structures, Hoover Dam. A dam is a wall built across a river to stop the water from flowing. Hoover Dam was built for 2 main reasons. The first reason was to control flooding on the Colorado River. The dam slows the rush of water down the river during flood times. The second reason was to store water. Water stored behind Hoover Dam flows through aqueducts to farms and cities. Hoover Dam was built more than 70 years ago. At that time, nobody had ever built such a huge dam. Many people said it couldn't be done. Some said the Colorado River could never be stopped long enough to build a dam. Other people did not think a dam could be made strong enough to hold back so much water. My dad helped prove these people wrong. He helped build Hoover Dam. My dad knew a great many facts about Hoover Dam. He told me that there is enough concrete in the dam to pave a road from California to New York. He said that the lake behind the dam holds enough water to flood the entire state of Pennsylvania with 1 foot of water. That's a lot of concrete holding back a lot of water.
Please pause the video to draw Hoover Dam on your map. And we will move on to our next stop, which will be the Grand Canyon. This is found on page 157 in your textbook.
Wow, what a view. You're looking into the Grand Canyon. This is the most famous natural feature in the United States. A canyon is a deep, narrow valley with steep sides. There are many canyons in the Southwest, but this one is the grandest of them all. The Grand Canyon is about 277 miles long and 1 mile deep. It is so deep that the canyon's top and bottom have different weather. It can be cold here on top and hot down below. It is so deep that when I stand here on the rim, I sometimes see eagles flying below me. The American Indian tribe, known as the Havasupai, live at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. According to Havasupai legend, the canyon was formed when a flood covered the world. To end the flood, a god dug a hole in the earth. The flood water rushed down the hole, carving out the Grand Canyon as it went. Scientists tell a different story. They say the Grand Canyon began to form anywhere from 6 to 17 million years ago. It has been carved slowly out of the earth by water and wind. The Grand Canyon is still growing today, even while we are here.
Okay, please pause your video to draw the Grand Canyon. Or not draw the Grand Canyon, it's rather large. And actually, if you have not been there before, I highly suggest getting there at some point in your life. It is absolutely beautiful. So go ahead and label this on your map in Arizona. And then we will move on to our next site, which is found in New Mexico. It's Carlsbad Caverns National Park.
At most national parks, the big attractions are found above the ground. Not here. At Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico, the show takes place underground. About 100 caves and caverns lie beneath this park. A cave is a natural hole found in the earth. A cavern is a large cave. According to local legend, some cowboys, including one named Jim White, found Carlsbad Caverns. One evening, they saw what looked like a plume of smoke rising into the sky. That plume of smoke turned out to be a big cloud of bats flying out of a cave entrance. A bat looks like a mouse with wings. Hundreds of thousands of bats sleep in the caverns during the day. At night, the bats leave in a great whirring cloud to hunt for food. If you come to the entrance at sunset, you may see them take flight. It's a very pretty sight. More than 500,000 visitors tour Carlsbad Caverns each year. One of the most popular stops is a huge chamber known as the Big Room. The Big Room is about 25 stories high and a third of a mile wide. It could hold 6 football fields and still have space left over.
Be sure to put Carlsbad Caverns on your map along with a symbol. And then we will move on to our next stop on page 159. El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, 2 cities, 2 countries, 1 border.
We are at the border between the United States and Mexico. A border is a line that people agree on as a boundary to separate 2 places. The border between the United States and Mexico is a river called the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande separates 2 countries. It also divides 2 busy cities. El Paso, Texas, an American city, lies north of the border. Ciudad Juarez, a Mexican city, lies south of the border. 40 years ago, El Paso and Juarez were sleepy little border towns. There weren't many people or trucks here then. Today, a total of about 2 million people live in the 2 cities, and the area is crawling with trucks. The reason for this change is simple. American businesses have built hundreds of factories in Juarez. Americans build factories across the border because Mexican workers will work for much lower pay than American workers. This reduces the cost of doing business. These factories, called maquiladoras, assemble all kinds of goods. The goods are then trucked across the border for sale in the United States. Many Mexicans move close to the border to take maquiladora jobs.
All right, after you put this site on your map, we will be moving on to San Antonio, Texas, home of the Alamo. Page 160.
Welcome to San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is a city famous for its Spanish missions. A mission is a Spanish settlement where priests once taught American Indians the Christian religion. San Antonio's missions were built in the early 1700s. At that time, Texas was a colony of Spain. Later on, Texas became part of Mexico. The Alamo is San Antonio's most famous mission. More than 2.5 million people visit the Alamo every year. They come to see where a small band of men fought and died so that Texas might be free. In 1836, Americans living in Texas declared their independence from Mexican rule. A Mexican general named Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna led 2,000 troops to Texas to crush this rebellion. A rebellion is an armed fight against one's government. A band of 188 Texas freedom fighters gathered at the Alamo. Their goal was to stop the Mexican army there. Instead, the Mexican forces captured the mission and killed every one of its defenders. News of the killings at the Alamo outraged Americans. Hundreds picked up their guns and headed to Texas to join the rebellion. Their battle cry was, "Remember the Alamo." Texas won its independence from Mexico in 1836. For 9 years, Texas was a nation. Then, in 1845, Texas joined the United States as the 28th state.
All right, fourth graders, after you put San Antonio, Texas, home of the Alamo, on your map, we will be remaining in Texas and going to the state capital, which is Austin, Texas.
This is Austin, the capital of Texas. A capital is a city where the government of a country or state is located. The government of Texas is located in Austin. Like our national government, state governments have 3 branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislative branch is the state legislature. The Texas legislature meets in the building you see here with the large dome on top. State legislatures make laws for all the people in a state. Most of the traffic laws in each state are passed by the state legislature. As a truck driver, I have to know and obey all these laws. State legislatures decide how much people must pay in taxes to the state. They also decide how that money will be spent. Truckers always want state legislatures to spend more money on improving the roads. The executive branch is headed by the state governor. It's the governor's job to make sure that all the laws passed by the state legislature are carried out. State courts make up the judicial branch. State courts judge people who are accused of breaking state laws. If a person is found guilty of breaking a law, the courts decide how that person should be punished.
All right, after you put Austin on your map, we will be going to our final stop. This is Guthrie, Oklahoma, site of the land rush.
Most of the Southwest was settled slowly over time. Guthrie, Oklahoma was settled in one day. For many years, the U.S. government kept Oklahoma closed to everyone but American Indians. Then, in 1889, the government decided to open 2 million acres of land to new settlement. This area was to be given away in a one-day land rush. The first person to reach and claim a piece of land on that day could keep it. On April 22, 1889, between 50,000 and 100,000 people gathered at the starting line for the land rush. Most were European Americans. Some were African Americans. Black or white, everyone wanted the same thing: free land. At noon, a bugler blew some notes on his horn. The rush was on. People raced off in wagons, on horses, and on foot. In a few hours, every inch of land was taken. Not everyone waited for the land rush to begin. Some settlers cheated and entered the area sooner than the government allowed. One of these sooners was found tending a garden full of vegetables. Oklahoma's soil was so rich, he claimed, that the plants had all sprouted up that day. Guthrie, Oklahoma, was born during the land rush. At noon, Guthrie wasn't much more than a patch of grass. 6 hours later, the town had a population of 10,000 people.
All right, fourth graders, so that is the last site that you need to put on your map. Guthrie, Oklahoma. Once you are finished with that, we will listen to the summary on page 163.
My trucking buddies and I hope that you enjoyed your big rig tour of the Southwest. On the way back, I asked the children in my truck what words they would use to describe the Southwest. The first word they came up with was big. This region has big caverns, a big canyon, a big Capitol building, and a big dam. Their next two words were hot and dry. Much of the Southwest is desert. Plants, animals, and people all have to adapt to its hot, dry climate to survive. Over time, the way people adapt to the desert has changed. The Navajo came here hundreds of years ago. They adapted by learning how to grow corn and raise sheep. People coming here today adapt in different ways. They use air conditioning, aqueducts, and automobiles to help them survive. The last word the children chose was beautiful. I asked them which places seemed beautiful. Monument Valley, they answered, along with the Grand Canyon and Carlsbad Caverns. After thinking about this some more, one child added, I think that the Hoover Dam is beautiful too. My dad would have liked that answer. He would have liked it a lot.